with a WWE legend confirming his contract is about to expire and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Talking about the former Max Dupree returning to his NXT persona of LA Knight on SmackDown, Jim Cornette gave praise to WWE for this decision, saying on his podcast, "The thing about LA Knight is, I like the fact that they realize they've committed a crime against nature, changing his name to Max Dupree, the whole male model thing, Mason Mansoor, and by the way, those guys have to be so embarrassed. They're going out on TV looking like that and doing that He cuts the promo as LA Knight, and he did a new catchphrase and blah blah blah. I expect they'll just never mention this again, but you know me, I've got the OCD, and I would have had to have given LA Knight some reason to impart to the people why he did this, to obviously put it to bed, get over it. It was the worst idea anybody has ever had, but what was the reason he went along with it for 3 weeks? On the DDP Snake Pit podcast, Jake Roberts touched on a tradition that has gone from pro wrestling traveling together on the road. When you're in the car for say 4 hours, the smart thing to do is talk about your match. Now you've got 3 other guys here giving their opinions, and you pick things out of what they're saying. Oh yeah, that would work here. Oh, that can make that better. So you're getting 4 minds instead of 1. Occasionally, there'd be an argument, and on occasion, some guys get outside the car and fought over what they thought. One person that Roberts rode with was The Undertaker, and he made it clear that they didn't argue, as the Phenom asked a lot of good questions during their time in the car together. Percy, Paul Bearer, at times would say, "Jake, what do you think about this?" He wasn't asking for himself, he was asking for The Undertaker, which kept Mark from feeling like a mark because he was such a colossal sized guy anyway. He always took his gimmick seriously, and I give him that because it was tremendously hard to work that gimmick. You'd think it'd be easy, but it wasn't to do it right. That is why Roberts hit him with 2 DDTs and delayed the cover during the WrestleMania 8 encounter. As he explained, it was me taking care of the DDT, it was also me taking care of him. Speaking to Rainmaker NYC, Bobby Lashley was asked about rumors of him originally leaving WWE due to a pay dispute. As he said, there was other issues and other things going on. It was an opportunity for me to go fight and legitimize my character a little bit, so I fought for 8 years, fought under Scott Coker and Bellator and Strikeforce and everything else, and now coming back, I take all that with me, and that just kind of legitimizes my character a little more. I'm older. No, older, wiser. I mean, there's a little bit of everything. There's a different kind of training that you have when you're a little bit of an older athlete. You know, I take care of myself a little bit more. I have different thoughts. Before, when I was younger, it was like, yeah, early lifestyle, money, you run around doing a whole bunch of different things. Now, I'm more of a businessman. On Keeping It 100, Konnan revealed an interaction he had with Mr. Perfect's son Curtis Axel regarding his charisma. As he said, "What happened was, when I was doing MLW, he was like in a tag team with somebody. I forgot who it was, and he had some other name. So I had said that he had no charisma, which he didn't, and I didn't see much of his dad's talent in him, which I didn't. And I wasn't wrong, because where is he right now?" And I think I might have tweeted it out or something, so of course he was mad. So then he said that. Talking about Sami Zayn's involvement with the Bloodline as the honorary Uce, former UFC heavyweight and light heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier said on the Masked Man show, "I feel like they were forcing Roman to get there until they allowed him to be who he is. I think Vince had this idea of who he wanted Roman Reigns to be. When he finally let go of that idea and said, go and be you, he's become this. Jey Uso plays the jealous cousin better than anyone, and it's going to happen when they're going to kick his ass. He's going to get out out there for Sami Zayn, who's doing some of the best work in his entire career. He's hilarious. Speaking on Barstool's KFC Radio, comedian Dan Soder talked about a project for a cartoon he's worked on with Stone Cold Steve Austin and how WWE is holding it up, saying, "We're going through some BS and right now, and hopefully me saying it publicly will kind of push it through, or it will just completely mess up the deal. But at this point, I don't care. During the pandemic, Dan St. Germain, a fellow comedian, and I wrote a show with Stone Cold Steve Austin that was a cartoon, and we sold it to Peacock. But now WWE and Peacock are BSing. It's been 17 months on the sidelines, and I keep calling these MFers being like, this is going to be funny, and Stone Cold is completely on board. We developed the show with him, not WWE." On After the Bell, Corey Graves recalled Brock Lesnar keeping a hotel bar open for WWE stars after Raw was canceled. The show was very interesting. They re-aired the Royal Rumble match from the night before and aired a few backstage interviews with Roman, Brock, and many others, and allegedly, the former WWE champion paid a significant amount of money to keep the bar wide open for everybody to make sure they made the best of a crazy situation. I, of course, stayed in a completely different hotel, but it led to me finding the only open establishment in the scenic Stamford, Connecticut, where myself and 2/3 of the Shield made sure that none of the beers at said establishment went unattended. When it comes to AEW putting on the Ring of Honor Final Battle event, it seems they will have competition from WWE, as Sean Ross Sapp noted that NXT talent has been informed that December 10th is internally slated for an NXT WWE PLE, rumored to be associated with the Deadline trademark that was filed. We haven't confirmed that as the official name, but several talent and staff have been made aware to keep that date open. That's the same day as Ring of Honor Final Battle, and as of now, we haven't heard that the two events are running directly against one another. ROH is scheduled to run in the afternoon, with NXT planning to run at night. Also, for Fightful, it would be reported that WWE has made a decision in terms of what brand to place Bray Wyatt on, with it said that after returning at Extreme Rules and cutting a promo on last week's SmackDown, it looks like that may be his regular home. Plans as of Thursday afternoon called for Bray Wyatt to appear on SmackDown again this week. Originally, it was rumored that he'd appear on both Raw and SmackDown, but thus far, he hasn't been on the former. With WWE hoping for her to return before the end of this year, Becky Lynch recently spoke at NYC Advertising Week about if she prefers being a babyface or a heel. "I think human nature is we just generally don't want to like people, and certainly that's Twitter nature. So you have so much freedom that you can do anything. You can have fun. If people don't like you, well, I'm doing my job well. If people like you, well, you're so entertaining. How can people not like you?" It's a lot easier. It's a lot more fun in that aspect. Being a babyface, I tend to naturally fall into. I think honestly, I'm not the greatest athlete in the world, and I think my story of perseverance has registered with a lot of people. Fans can get behind that underdog who constantly has to overcome. But then when it comes to business and wrestling as a whole, especially women's wrestling, I feel like I can be of help by being a heel, right? Because when you're a babyface, it's all about you. It's about how good you look. It's how do we make the audience like you most. When you're a heel, it's all about how do you make the babyface look? How can you get people invested and want to see this guy win? I feel like I've gotten enough equity with the audience that I'm able to help a babyface. And then as a whole, that just helps women's wrestling. When people get more equity and get more exposure, and I think that drives the business forward. On his Grilling JR podcast, AEW commentator Jim Ross confirmed that Paul Wight went under the knife. As he said, guys like to be around Wight. You know, he's had surgery, hip surgery. I saw him just the other day at one of our shows. I think he was on a walker or a cane or something like that, but he's kind of beat up. He says he's coming back and he's going to be in great shape and he's going to have more matches. I hope that he's alright. I would love to see it. It would help AEW no doubt if he gets over, but he's got to get healthy. Speaking about his contract status with WWE, Goldberg noted on Roman Atwood's podcast that he only has 2 months left on his current deal. He also told a funny story about his encounter with WWE's co-CEO, Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie came up to me backstage one night and said, "I heard you've been headbutting the doors." I'm like, "Yeah, that's how I've got to be me." She goes, "I don't want you headbutting any more doors." I wanted to make sure that I was following her orders. They knock on my door, wham! I punched the door and broke my hand. I never told them about it, so then what am I going to do? Time out, it's freaking live television. So I punch the door. They're on the other side of the door. They don't know what's going on. I wear these gloves, right? So fortunately, I grabbed my glove and pulled my hand back out so I could move it. And I go, okay, let's go to the ring. So I went to the ring, I grabbed the rope, and I fell. And it was the night Steve Austin and I met for the first time, I think, and we did the beer bash. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.